Welcome to Life Picks Relationships, helping you understand and enliven your marriage through the various perspectives and experiences of others who found a way to prioritize what's really important in life. From new love to those that have weathered the storms, let's get ready to take your relationships to the next level with your host, ST.
Hey, Life Picksers, hope you're having an awesome day. Did you love the previous episode with Maya? Oh my God, that was a crazy story. If you missed that episode, you'll want to go back after you listen to this one and listen to that one because it was absolutely crazy. You'll love that story. Now for today's episode, I am super excited. We've got a couple, yay, who the husband, Richard, was like a little bit not so sure if he wanted to come on. Like a lot of times, like when I pulled their spouse on with them. But Sondra does some amazing things. And I know this is going to be so much fun together with her husband, Richard. Sondra is a certified meditation teacher. She is a transformational relationship coach and the author of The Power of Ouch. That sounds interesting. I got to read that book. You could go and find more about her. You can go and buy her book. You can go and get her love letters at sondraharmon.com. I'm going to put all her links in the show notes so you can go and find them really quickly, really easily. Thank you so much, Sondra and Richard, for being here. I am super excited to be speaking with you. You want to start by telling us how you guys met?
Okay.
All right, I'll kick it off. We met at a meditation karaoke party in New York City on April 29th, 2016.
Yes, and it sounds like it's like meditation karaoke together, but it's actually first we meditated, then we drank, then we karaoke'd. So it's not like one thing.
Right. So,
did you ever try doing meditation and like doing it all together?
No, but we have made a pattern. Every year on April 29th, we'll either have an anniversary party from the first time we met, and then we got engaged on April 29th, and then we got married on April 29th.
Are you serious? Like April 29th is your day. So that just was less than a month ago.
Exactly. And we had a meditation karaoke party to celebrate the 5th year of the night we met and the 2nd year since we got married. So every single time we have that theme going, but we never do the drinking and meditating at the same time. It's always
separate.
Can I share a story just since I've got Richard here?
Of course. I want to hear. You got me curious now.
The 2nd year, so we met at a meditation karaoke party, and 2 years after we'd been dating, all of my girlfriends kept saying, how can I meet a guy like Richard, And I'm like, well, it's a meditation karaoke party. So maybe I'll have a meditation karaoke party and invite all my friends. So we had a tiny couple, for New York, for New York, it was big. We had a 2-bedroom apartment, squeezed about 40 of our friends in there.
Oh, wow.
And we were just going to have a karaoke meditation party. And Richard proposed to me with a song. It was sad. That
is so much fun.
It was so much fun. He had everybody seated. And then as soon as he got to a word that rhymed with life, all my girlfriends and I are looking at each other like, is he going to say wife?
You saw it coming. You saw it. What a fun way to propose. I like that you have like everyone there and you were surprised and you knew it was happening or surprised?
She was surprised. She kind of knew it when I was in the middle of the song. Once she figured
okay,
out.
but like not like for days before. But she's like also all dressed because it's for the party, and like so it's a perfect combination of surprise and being ready at the same time.
And we had all our friends there. It was really great and a surprise to everyone. I don't think you didn't tell anybody.
I didn't tell anybody, and it was a full moon over New York City, so we had this great view over Brooklyn. So we had the full moon out the window. It was really quite spectacular.
Made special for you. Okay, now there's like a certain type of person that is going to go to a meditation karaoke party. Tell us a bit about yourselves. Like, what landed you both up over there?
Well, my part was kind of simple because I had just been at a meditation retreat in India and gotten back a few days before.
How long was that retreat for?
It was, I think it was about 7 days maybe. And the friend of mine who had inspired me to go, our friend Sanjeev, when I got back to the States, he said, hey, there's going to be a meditation over at our friend Pam's house. And we didn't know Pam was a huge karaoke fan as well. She had a whole room dedicated to karaoke. And so I said, sure, and so that's how I ended up there.
Yeah, the way I ended up there was I didn't know Richard, and I did know we had this mutual friend, Sanjeev, he would put on retreats in the US for the group that Richard was with in India, right? It's called ACAM right now. They've changed their name. And he kept trying to get me to go to these meditation retreats. And I was like, Sanjeev, I can't sit still. Like, you obviously don't know me very well, because I can't meditate because I can't sit still more than a few minutes. So he kept harassing me about going to going to one of the retreats. I kept saying no. And finally he said, okay, so my friend Pam, who has this townhouse where John Lennon recorded in the studio, which is really cool, and you really want to see that, is having a party. And it's going to be a meditation karaoke party. Well, I had just gotten back from living 8 years in Vietnam, and that's kind of what we did for entertainment, was karaoke. So basically I went for the karaoke and I had to do the meditation. But it was awesome because we had a monk that had dialed in from India over Skype and with all sorts of technology glitches. And he led the simplest meditation and the simplest teaching that went along with it. And it just totally blew me away. It was like, oh my God, I had no idea this is what meditation was, because everything shifted in me. And I was like, okay, Sanjeev, you were right. Where's the next event going to be? Where's the next coming to the US? And I saw Richard. I'm like, hey, are you going to go to San Francisco and go to this? It was called Being Limitless.
Yes,
Being Limitless. And he was like, yeah, I think I can make it work, because he was on this travel.
Yeah, I had to be all over the US for work. And I'm like, I have to be in the Bay Area the same time as this event. And so Sondra goes, well, I've just signed up for it.
Right.
And so it was about 10 days later, and we met up. And when you do these events, you partner up for the event. They're called mitras, which is your partner for the event. And so she became my mitra. And then maybe we went out to lunch once, but we were kind of sitting next to each other, on the floor for like 2.5 days doing all these exercises.
Yeah.
And then we when we got back to New York, then we started dating.
Yep. Such fun. Oh my gosh. And now do you meditate a lot, Sondra?
Well, I ended up, that quick little meditation, which was so simple, just it blew me away. So I went to San Francisco to Being Limitless. And again, I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing experience. I was first one to sign up to go to India, which is where Richard had been. So I went there, did a 7-day retreat. Then I went back and did another one. And then I went and I trained to be a meditation instructor. And then I went back to train to be what they call the wisdom teacher, which is not just the meditations, but how do you transmit the state, the consciousness that you have about something, which is what that monk was able to do over Skype. It was just this simple meditation, but it was more like the space that he created for somebody to have realizations and change that did it. So I went to learn the wisdom teaching part of it. And then I specialized when I was there. Someone had given me a book called Freedom in Relationships that was written by the couple that started. At the time, it was called One World Academy. It's called Freedom in Relationships. And it was 30 different meditations to help with relationships. And because I had struggled in relationships so much in my life, and because I had just had this amazing awakening and this experience, I checked in with one of the founders, Prita G, and said, look, I don't want to teach all this other stuff you've been teaching me to teach. I want to teach about relationships, and I want to use your book. So I went back to New York and really started teaching these wisdoms, these little snippets of how to create great relationships and the meditations that go along with them.
So cool. Okay. So what would you suggest to someone who, just like you a couple of years back, said they can't meditate, they can't sit, as soon as they start thinking, their mind just goes in a million other directions? And maybe you could also share with us one of those relationship meditations.
Oh, wow. Well, one is the relationship, the meditations are part teaching and part meditation. And it takes about 20 minutes or so. So, I mean, I would certainly be happy to record one with you or for you. That would be amazing and awesome. But I don't know if right now is the right format, but I'd be happy to do something for you and send it over if that would be supportive.
That would be cool. Yeah. Awesome. But like, maybe like in short, like what sort of things do you say? What sort of things, right? There's like the teaching and the meditation part. What type of things do you teach? And how's the meditation process like?
Yeah. And let me, before I even get into that, answer that other question about like somebody like
Thanks.
me.
Yeah. I sometimes like jump.
It's the fun part. It's the fun, juicy part. I think for me, the feelings that I had, or the thoughts or ideas I had about meditation, were that you went into some room and you sat cross-legged for a long time and didn't think, right? And it's like, and there's no way I could do that. You know, I had friends that went into, the silent retreats for 10 days and they would meditate. I couldn't do that. What I've learned since then is, there's different paths and different types of meditations. And what I'm doing, it's all very guided, right? It's a very guided meditation, but it's also not the type of meditation which you can hear about, or a lot of people say, oh yeah, I meditate. I use the Calm app to help me fall asleep. Well, that's also not the type of meditations I do. These meditations are designed to wake you up, not put you to sleep. Right? In fact, some of them are having you dig in and look at what pain you might be carrying. And that's not necessarily relaxing. So in this sense, we're looking at meditation as awareness. And even to that idea of, in order to meditate, you have to have no thoughts. There's, I wish I could remember where I first heard this quote from. Is somebody was talking about meditations. He said, look, there's two times when you're not going to have any thoughts. There's two states you can be in. Because everyone's always worried they can't meditate because they're going to continue to have thoughts. And he said, look, these two states, and one of them is when you're enlightened, in which case, congratulations when you get there. And the other is if you're dead. And my condolences if you get there. And in between that, there's going to be thoughts. It's more about bringing your awareness to them and seeing, are you attached to the thought? Are you resisting the thought? Can you let that thought go? Is that thought serving you? Is that an interesting thought? Is it leading you to feel or act in a way that's in support of what you want to accomplish? Or is it leading you to feel and act in ways that are counter to what you're trying to create in your life? So that's the type of meditation I do. And let me see, what are some of my
So it's like another word for becoming more self-aware, like a method to become more aware.
Yeah. And really, that's what, even if you're doing a type of meditation where you're just becoming aware of your breath, it's still becoming aware. It's just what I'm having people look at and what they're becoming aware of. And a lot of it will have to do with one of my favorite meditations. Let me give you a couple that are my favorites, because I can't.
Yeah.
One of them is called, I call it the magic mirror meditation. And it's a deep reflection where you're getting into a particular state based on breath work and humming and making sure that you've calmed your body down as much as possible and your breath down. And then you're starting to look at yourself, because relationships are simply a mirror of your inner state. And that's a tough one to get. And that's why meditations are so helpful, because it allows you to go deep and actually experience and see how this is true for you, or not true for you. But most people that are looking that deeply see that it's true for them, right? So it's a meditation that's having you look at your own relationship with yourself and see how that is translating into whether or not and how you're connecting with a partner. Right? Think about it. If you're very judgmental about something, let's say about your body, right? And what does that have you do? And how does that have you act? And are you reaching? Are you withdrawing? Are you like hiding? Or are you connecting? And if you don't have any of that, the ability to connect with another person is so much greater. And you're connecting from that space of love for yourself, love with the person.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? A little bit different, but same at the same time. We recently did an episode 131, where we had a dance therapist together with a couple on, and she had the couple move their hands, like mirror their hands in the same way. And then afterwards, they discussed how their hand motions affected their relationship. And it was so interesting to see how, let's say the wife, she moved her hands really quickly and the husband was like trying to follow along and he couldn't follow along. And then he just like got lost in the middle, and how one was making it more complicating and one was, and it was like you said, another way of just like a mirror of, that was like more both of them together, of their hand movement, of how it affected their relationships. But going inside, you could see that same way and seeing how that's like a more an external, maybe it's harder to like translate what the hand movements are, but it's a little bit easier for people who like aren't meditating so much. When you're in that meditative state and you could get deeper, then you probably understand it clearer and get a more direct translation of what is going on in your relationship. Is that correct or not? Or is that a lot of like, do you also have to like dissect what is coming up, or is it easy to see what's happening based on the inside and what's happening in your relationship?
Well, wow. First of all, I want to jump in and say that meditation retreat that Richard and I were partnered at, we actually did that exercise as part of the meditation. So we were, before we even really
we did this thing.
And it was, and I think, I don't know if I ever told you this, but that was so beautiful because we didn't really know each other. We'd met just at that party, and and we were doing that. It was so amazing because I could see how he was kind of leading, but with attention on my experience. I was like, it was so profound, and I could write without words, without anything. I just, totally could feel that he could feel me. And that, you talk about that exercise as though it's just this little exercise. It's not, because I remember going back to the hotel with my roommate, this woman I was staying with, and she was talking about how upsetting it was for her because she had tried to do an exercise like that once with her husband, and just how complicated and how uncomfortable it made her feel. So it is like meditation. I mean, it is about perceiving and being aware and being connected. Anyway, so when you're talking about,
I like that. So anyone who didn't do that exercise when we did it previously, you're going to want to do it now. You see, another proof that it really works.
Some of the other meditations that I do.
One second, sorry, before you get onto that, just curious, do you think it's like when you're meditating on yourself, right? And you're saying it's a reflection of what's going on in your relationship. Is it really clear and like super like easy to see, like, okay, this is this, so that's why it shows up in my relationship? Or there's some translation that you have to do?
It's when you're meditating, it's not so intellectual, right? Yeah. Right. It's more of your heart. I mean, and I'm using head and heart as more of analogies than I am actually, exactly. It's only from your heart and only from your head. But in meditation, you're not, you're bypassing, you're like releasing your thoughts, and you're really going with your heart. So you can have these massive shifts and not actually know what it was. Like that first meditation that I did at the meditation karaoke party, it was so simple and so easy. And it had this massive shift in me and how I related to the world and other people. And I can't say why. I don't know why. And so sometimes, you get a sense of what it was, but a lot of times it's just it's like a shift in your state, a shift in how you interact with people and, yourself and the people in your life. So anyway, so the answer, I guess, is sometimes, yes, you can look at it and go, oh yeah, I can see where this is happening. But sometimes it's like, oh wow, the next time I was out on a date, I was totally different. And I don't know why, but
there's that shift in there.
It's just a shift.
So it's not only like giving you a message, but it could actually go and change something inside of you.
Yeah, that's the point. It's actually not like, this isn't about going someplace and taking notes and then reviewing the notes. It's about going and having an experience of something. It's all very experiential and not like tips and tricks and, everybody wants to know, like, what are the tips and what are the tricks and, what are the 4 things that'll make, any relationship perfect.
There are no 4 things.
Exactly. But even for that, it's like, I look at it and, we basically met at this place that talks about how you just want to come from life in a beautiful state.
Yeah, the whole beautiful state concept, that's one of the things they were focusing on when I was in this India retreat. And, whenever you're meeting any adversity, like maybe decades ago, I'd flash a little bit, maybe you'd let your emotions get control of you if you were having a big issue in a business environment or something. And I kind of came to realize that if you're in a beautiful state, the outcome's always better. No matter how you greet whatever's coming at you, if you're in a beautiful state, no matter what it is, you have a more likelihood of a positive outcome, and so that's kind of how our whole relationship evolved from this beautiful state. It probably helped that I just spent a week in India before we met. And so that's that.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, I really think it's true. I think that when I use the word more loving state versus beautiful state, but it's the same thing of like coming from a place of like your heart of loving and of like just what's going on here, what's coming in this situation. And you don't take things as personally. You're actually able to go and work things out, and life is just so much more beautiful. Yeah. So what are some other of your meditation examples that you were going to give us before?
Oh, sure. So I'm going to just try and pull up some of my favorites in my mind. One of them has to do with labels.
With labels?
Labels, like labeling people, right? So to label somebody as, I'm going to give you some examples that people might agree with, like, oh, he's a very withdrawn person. Like, okay, he's withdrawn. So now you have a label for a person and you react to them based on that label. Or it could even be he's selfish, or he's volatile. I mean, all the labels that we have, and everybody has their own labels for all the different people in their life. Although the meditation applies to not just those labels that we might look at as being bad, it's also good labels.
Right.
He is loving. He's generous. He's all these things that might come up as a label for a person. Like he is. Because now you're starting to think, well, that's how they always are. And this meditation walks you through that, the idea that when you've put a label on someone, good or bad, you've disconnected from them.
You get disconnected from the person?
Mm-hmm. When you label a person, it's like a chair. Like I always look at it, like the physical universe operates almost the opposite of the spiritual universe, which is relationships are kind of in the realm of that. It's more spiritual, it's about how we're connected and our consciousness. But like, it's really great to label a chair, because then I can say, hey, bring me that chair over here. And,
if we would have no labels, we won't really be able to communicate.
Right. You can't, so I'm not against labels, but labels, when you're labeling a person and the closer you are to them, the more disconnection it can create. Like labeling my UPS guy as a UPS guy, right? He's just UPS. I don't go to, well, what's going on with him? Is he suffering? Did he have a bad day? How's he feeling? All these things. So you see, well, like a UPS guy, he's like a UPS guy. I've labeled him. I'm not connected to him. Right. We tend to do that with people that we're close to too. Like, oh, he's my husband. Well, that means now he's going to act just the way a husband's supposed to act. The same way that a chair is going to sit there and be what a chair is normally, right? And your UPS guy is going to be like a UPS guy. You label someone your husband or a good guy who, I don't know why I keep it. We were playing with that.
What's the problem with, let's say, labeling someone a good guy? He's going to now show up as a good guy.
No, what happens on that day when he's having a bad day and you're not connected with him because you know he's a good guy, because you can stop paying attention. That part of your brain that's checking, like, how is he today? Is he and actually Richard's really better at this than I am. He's constantly in tune with me. And you might go, I'm just generally happy. But if you labeled me a happy person, well, then you could stop paying attention to when I have that like frown, and you pick it up. Even Richard picks it up even before I start manifesting it sometimes, because he's in tune, because I've not been labeled. I'm not.
Okay. So how do you associate each other in each other's brains? Is it just Sondra and Richard and like nothing else, like no other labels? Or is that even considered a label, or what?
I mean, that's a great question. My practice is I'll use labels and then go, but that's just a label. And, to try, right? Because or sometimes we'll play I keep using a good guy because I was in with a bunch of girlfriends and they're like, but what about Richard? He's a good man. and I'm like, yeah, but what happens when he's having a bad day and he loses his temper or something? And not that he does that, but what if he did? And so then we said, well, what about if we say in this moment? So sometimes I'll go, well, it's just a label and I need a label. Or sometimes I'll go in this moment because we're constantly changing. And that goes to another meditation that I love, which talks about how love changes. It's not the same. It doesn't change. I mean, it doesn't stay the same. You're together for even a couple months. I see this with women that are just starting to date. It's like 3 months in and he's already, going back to work. But, think about over 10 years, over 20 years. And I'm fascinated about what does it take to maintain a loving relationship. And one of my great mentors has been married, oh my gosh, now 37, almost 40 years. And she talks about how their love has changed. That's one of my favorite questions for couples that have been married a long time, because then I can share it with the people that are newly married and think that it's always going to be the same.
It's an energy. It's a wrong way to describe it, but it's not static. So it's going to have to change and it's going to have to move, and it's either getting better or it's getting worse or just changing in different ways. It doesn't have to be like, sometimes it is better and worse, but sometimes it's not, especially better or worse. It's just different. It shows up in different ways and comes out in different situations. Do you guys meditate a lot together?
So we have this morning ritual that we do almost every day, a little bit less when we're traveling, and we're traveling right now. So what we do is we get up in the morning and we have a cup of coffee.
He makes me wonderful coffee.
I make this kind of, instead of bulletproof coffee, which you might have heard of, I call it Kevlar Coffee because it has all my favorite ingredients in it. It has turmeric and cinnamon and collagen and cocoa and almond milk creamer. Anyway, we have that first.
A whole concoction. Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole concoction. There's like 8 or 9 things. And then we chat. And then the second cup of coffee, we do this thing called the Soul Sync, which is also from this group in India. And it's a breath meditation. It's 5-6 components. And it takes about 12 minutes. And normally people soul sync, they just soul sync by themselves. You can find it. You can look up, soul sync on YouTube and you'll find the process. And they'll walk you through it. There's somebody who's like a guided meditation, but, with us, we do it facing each other and we do it nearly every day. And again, it's that 12 minutes and it just sets the whole day for us. So that's really it. So, years ago, I used to meditate for a long time and I probably get 85, 90% of the benefit in that 12 minutes. So it's quick, leaves me in a beautiful state. And we go about the day, and then we move on after that. Mm-hmm. So that's our morning ritual. It's really fun.
Yeah,
I really like that because it centers each one of you and together. Mm-hmm. And also, like you said, so many people think like meditation is like in order to get the results of it, like you said, you have to sit cross-legged for hours, but 12 minutes and you set up your day. Whoa, I like that.
Yeah.
Do you, Sondra, when you're working with clients, when you're doing other things, do you tend to find yourself meditate much more than that, or also just mostly in the morning?
When I'm working,
when she's leading workshops, she's leading everybody through meditations. Right?
Yeah.
So do you meditate yourself or like you're too busy focusing on leading it that it's not really meditating?
It is and it isn't. When I'm working, I guess it's true with groups too, but certainly one-on-one. Like I'm taking the meditation and both holding space and taking what comes up in my mind and releasing it so that it's kind of it's really weird because I do believe we're all connected, right? And I believe that if somebody is working on a judgment that she has with her husband and, had told me about it, and now we're going to do a meditation to release it or process. I do both. Meditations are just like a third of what I do when I work with people.
I know, like I was thinking while you're talking, sorry to interrupt you again, but like I did not think we would go so into meditation. I am not a huge meditation fan. I mean, like, I think it's really good, but like by me, after 5 minutes, I'm just like completely over and done it. And here, like a whole episode of meditation, I have like a million more questions for you, but go on.
Anyway, I'm let's say we're working and she has judgments about her husband and she's working on releasing that. I'm also working on releasing what I might have, like whatever things I might have had that came up in me as she was sharing a story or talking about an incident, because like we all have these, like whatever it is that somebody has that they're struggling with, no matter, you can pick any random person. And if they really get down to the heart of what they're struggling with, you felt that too. You found that somewhere in your life too. And if there's an area where maybe you're holding on to it, but it's just never come up in your life. So you can examine what it is for you and release it too. And that just helps everybody, because now as you're running around day to day in observation and conversation, you're not like putting that little barb into the world of judgment or tension or labels or anything like that.
Okay. So before I get to the final question, there's like just something else I need to ask you, because I'm so curious. You wrote a book about the power of ouch. You want to tell us what that is?
What it is it's my first book. So I started with one of the things that I felt was the most detrimental to having great relationships. And that is this idea that, oh my God, I'm going to meet the perfect man and I'm never going to get my feelings hurt, or I'm never going to get disrespected, or I'm never going to get disappointed. I'm never going to get annoyed. All these things, I'm never going to feel it because we're just going to have the perfect relationship. And I spent enough time researching and talking to people who have amazing relationships that I realized that the people that were in these great relationships would come up with something that had hurt their feelings or they felt disrespected about within like a week. And the people that were in difficult relationships would pull up something that had happened years ago. And I got really fascinated about it. And I believe that we're kind of designed to connect. We're born to be connected. We're, like look at little kids, they don't know who to play with or not. And that's, one of the things that I, wrote about it. I saw it in an airport once where these two little toddlers didn't even know each other. And they were just holding hands, running up and down the terminal path. And it was beautiful. And then I looked at the adults in the room who were all like reading their papers or looking at it was a BlackBerry at the time, it was a while ago. And we were all disconnected and the kids were just connecting. So I really believe that connection is natural. So what's going on that is, keeping us from being connected? And one of them, I believe, is this idea that in a perfect relationship, you're not going to get your feelings hurt. You see kids fall down all the time. They fall down, they scrape their knee, they cry. Their mother comes over 5
minutes later. Yeah.
Crying, right? We don't do that in relationships. We fall down, we get our feelings hurt. And now we're like, oh my God, I don't think I'm ready. Right. Or even in a great relationship, sometimes there'll be an upset between the partners and they resolve it. It's not really resolved. It's just swept under the rug, but they're never going to go there again. Like I'm never going to talk about going on a vacation again because the last time it was so horrible, right? No, you fall down, you pick it up, you keep going. So the power of ouch, the title is designed to attract attention to this idea that there's a power in it, the ability to recognize that you've been hurt and not push it under the rug or blame the other person or file it away. That's one of the things, like, okay, yeah, I got hurt, but I'm just going to file it away and see if he does it again and again and again. And then I'll do something about it. Then I'll release it. And all this just builds up tension, any of those. And there's like 12 different things that build up tension rather than just saying, ouch, ouch, that just ouch. There's no words. They're like, or ooh, or oh, or whatever we feel like, because in an ouch or in an or in a, there's no judgment. It's just an expression of how you feel. So rather than hiding how you feel, it's like, just let it out. And those words, those interjections, right, that have no meaning other than, oh, I'm feeling a certain way, are beautiful to let out. In fact, they've done studies that say somebody who is actually swearing while they're being injected or having their hand put in ice cold water can tolerate more. And I don't look at it that way. I look at it like they're releasing it. They're continuing to release it through a word. So it's the first half, or the first third, is an exploration of saying ouch and the importance and what we do instead of saying ouch. The second part is actually a decision, a process to decide if you want to let go of something, because we're holding on to it because we're trying to protect ourselves for some reason. So it's an evaluation, but then it's also a meditation, which is hard to translate into a book. So people who buy the book have access to a meditation that helps release the energy of that hurt or that upset or that disrespect or the disappointment. And then the last part of the book is looking at, well, what's under it? And I call it the mess. So underneath any of these ouches is one of a number of things. One, it could be a meaning. Well, what did it mean when he said that? What did right? And we run into this all the time. Like Richard will say something, I'll have my own meaning, which I go, ouch, and it's not what he meant. So a meaning, what did that mean about the other person or about you or about life? Then it could be your expectations, right? And that's where a lot of times even this idea of relationships change. Well, does something every single day, right? They're like, Richard makes me coffee every day. It's amazing. It's wonderful.
And then one day he doesn't.
Right? Oh my God.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? Right. So now you go to the, what does it mean? Then you have the stories that we create, which are kind of like the meanings and the expectations all tied up. It's like, well, then this is what's going to happen. And then, he didn't make me coffee and there was no coffee. And so now it's going to go downhill from here and it's going to be awful. And he's going to divorce me. And I'm going to live alone. I'm going to be a cat lady, right? You have these stories that we create. And if you can kind of laugh at the stories, it helps. Then we have the strategies that we create to try and make sure that never happens again. Let me just give an example. This has never happened. I don't think that Richard hasn't made me coffee. But let's say in the instance of not having coffee, it's like, okay, what's my strategy? Because he didn't make coffee. Now I'm worried. So now I'm going to if you're strategizing, you are now disconnected. You're the enemy. You're on the other side of the table trying to manipulate someone. So I could do things like, oh, sweetie, I've been so sleepy today. Right? Just waiting for him to, pick, rather than just being honest and saying, I really love it when you make me coffee. Would you make me some? Because we're so afraid to be authentic.
Yeah.
So the opposite of strategic is authentic. So how do you become authentic? So that's part of the book. And then the last one it's MESS, which is a mess. It's like the mess underneath causing the hurt. And there's one thing that makes it more messy, which is making it all about you.
Yeah.
And so I have exercises and just ways of looking at things that are the third part of the book. So it starts off with the idea of saying ouch, what we do with it. There's the meditation, the decision to actually release it, and a meditation to help you release it. And then to look at what's under it, which is where you can learn a lot, because now you can start pulling off all sorts of things. It might apply not just to coffee. It could apply to eye masks.
Yeah, it's the strategies. It's not specifically for this thing, but being able to go and translate it into everything. I love that. Yeah. Okay. How would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, connection, and ouch?
There's a lack of drama in our relationship, which is great.
Lack of drama, guys. Do you notice that they're not boring either? Drama doesn't have to, lack of drama doesn't have to mean everything's boring. Everything is laughing instead.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of joy. There's a tremendous amount of joy just being.
Yeah.
We have this thing where literally you can't see us, but I've got my hand on her leg, and just that touch, which I can't use the C word.
So awesome.
Okay. So for me, let's see, no love, no connection, no ouch. It's when we open our eyes after meditating, and I am just so blessed and so happy to be right where I am, no matter where we are.
Ooh,
and
I like that.
Yeah. We're traveling right now, and we have this home that we just love, and we're traveling. I'm like, I'm just as happy just because we're together. It's hard to put into words. That's an interesting question because you're forcing a logic to something that's only from the heart.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. And it's definitely a gratitude moment when we finish that little morning ritual. So
yeah, I'm sure like just exploding with love and appreciation and gratitude for yourselves, your relationship, for everything. I can't imagine if people would just try this with their day, even if they don't follow your exact meditation ritual, but their own of just meditating together every day, even say once a week, what it would do for their marriage. So thank you for sharing that. It was so awesome speaking with you. Thank you so much for coming on here.
We had fun, Esty.
That's all for this episode of Life Picks Relationships, and we have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support this show, but also give others what they need to take their marriage to the next level. We're striving to have 1 million downloads per episode by December 31st, 2025, so please share it with your family and friends so they can turn their relationship into an extraordinary one.